Okay, good morning. We're gonna get started. And everybody here, we're gonna have to keep our conversations to minimal because we're having a problem with the speakers, so sorry about that. But just by a show of hands, because I did mute everyone because we're hearing all the conversations, just raise your hand if those that have their camera on, can you hear us okay? All right. And we'll hopefully we'll hear you okay when it's time to talk. But to start the meeting, I'm going to hand it over. Well, we did receive the results of the election a few weeks ago, a month ago, however long it's been. And Claire is going to be the new chair and Scott will be the vice chair this year. And so we're still in two good hands and we'll move forward here. And Claire, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, sure. Do you like to do the virtual reminders first before we even start the meeting? How do you like to do that?
Just start the meeting and then read that.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start the meeting and call it to order. Roll call vote or
roll call.
Roll call. Okay, here we go. Anne Marie. Is she on the line today?
No, she's
Nope.
not.
Okay. Armando.
Presente.
Claire.
yes, here.
Craig.
Here.
Matt.
He raised his hand.
Rob.
Raised his hand.
Gotcha. Scott.
Here.
Present, yeah.
Scott Colt.
Here.
And Steve Foley.
Here by phone.
All right.
At the end. Okay.
That's it.
Then I'm gonna go ahead and read the
Wait a
virtual
second.
reminders.
Am I no longer on the,
Oh,
en route?
You miss her.
I'm sorry. I thought I called you, Allison. You're the first one on my list.
Oh, okay, maybe I missed it. Thank you. I'm here.
That was a test and you passed, Allison. We were just seeing if you were listening.
All right, a few reminders while we do this virtual meeting. Please mute your microphones. This will help ensure there's no feedback or background noises that may interfere with the speaker. If you'd like to ask a question or communicate, please raise your hand and lower it once you're done. When you're ready to speak, don't forget to unmute your microphone and then mute your microphone again. And as a reminder, the audience members who are here online are only permitted to speak during calls to the audience. And this meeting is being recorded to satisfy the open meeting law requirement. That's all the stuff. We'll go ahead and move to the second item, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Move to to item C, call to the audience. Is there any audience?
I'll be the audience. I'll use the call to the audience to just let everybody know that Bill Katzel resigned from the committee after many years. His obligations with his family exceeded his ability to work with us, and he's also on the board of the fire department, which he also resigned that membership as well. So we had, I can't remember, was it 24?
24.
I think it was 24 years of service for Bill. He's been a very positive contribution on this committee for a long time, and we'll miss him, but we wish him well. And we're hoping that the two vacant seats will get nominations from their respective groups before too long. But at any rate, Bill will no longer be joining our meetings.
Well, we wish him well. He's been here for a really long time, so a lot of good comments. So thank you. Any other calls to the audience? Any other people want to speak?
Others,
We have one.
Eric, yeah, unmute and go ahead and say what you need to say.
Yeah, good morning. It's been my understanding that Supervisor Christie has appointed me as the replacement for the resigning member of the committee.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, Eric. You'll still just be a guest today because we have to go through the formality of getting you on the committee officially. So, but feel free to listen in, and when we do the call to the audiences, you're more than welcome to contribute anything you have today, but we'll get you finalized. So for the next meeting, you'll be a regular member.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Great. Any others? No others? It's time for the safety share. Does anybody have a safety share? You often have a safety share.
I always have one, but I'm stalling just to see if anyone else wants it. Let's see, what's a good one. We, just a couple of things. So the one that I've used, just used it yesterday for another meeting, and it's still appropriate, is with the schools in session, speed limits in school zones and a lot of kids running around different places. The U of A is back in session, so it's a lot of, hectic traffic around the university and downtown more so than in the past. So just use extreme caution in driving around for all those reasons, and that's my safety share.
And all the highway constructions and all the.
That never ends.
Anybody else have a safety share?
I
Yeah.
do. I have
Okay.
one. I'm sure you've all have heard of PFAS or forever chemicals, and they are virtually everywhere. But I recently learned that they are in Oral-B Glide dental floss, and PFAS chemicals have been detected in higher levels in people who use that product. I use it and have used it for years, and we'll be switching to a non-PFAS containing dental floss. I suggest you all do the same. That's all.
That's good share.
But wait, don't you like glowing in the dark?
All right. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. We'll go ahead and move to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any changes that anybody suggests? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion. We have a motion from.
One minor change, and that is on the safety share where it mentions that I take an extra bottle of water with me. It's not Sun Mountain Park, it's Tucson Mountain Park. Just a small clarification.
Thank you.
Any other modifications to the minutes? Do I have a motion for approval?
I make a motion.
I move we approve.
Second,
Any discussion? Let's clarify who the motion is. We actually had a motion over here and then a second over up there with Rob.
And just remember when, we're talking here, we got to talk loud because it's kind
Yeah,
of, they
it's
go
really
through the
hard
computer.
to hear. I'll try and keep talking loud.
So, yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hands or say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is we're into discussion and action. We are up to the director's update, which is item G.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm going to run through just a few topics again. Last month, I talked about the Sarita project, and it's probably not the best name for it, but it's our evaluation of a new regional wastewater facility where we purchased property. We, Pima County Wastewater, purchased property over near Pima Mine Road and Old Nogales Highway. And we believe it's in our best interest to have a new regional plant at some future date that ultimately would replace the Green Valley plant and would replace the Corona de Tucson plant. But because of its proximity, the town of Sahuarita is interested in, potentially interested in partnering with us to use that facility as well for their needs. And then we're also very close to the Tohono O'odham Nation, which could also be interested. And I've passed on some information to them. Hopefully they'll get back with me and we'll continue that dialogue. But we did sign an IGA with the town of Sarita that basically said over the next 12 months, which is probably 2 months ago, we'll work to make a decision of, yes, we want to work together on the facility, or no, we don't. And I said IGA, but it's an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. It has no legal bearing, but it just lets everybody know we are working on that together. Thank you for that clarification. At any rate, we also just finished a study internally. Pima County was looking at, a question that came up on that regional facility. Does it make sense to have a regional facility, or does it make sense to stay with more sub-regional facilities because of the kind of the one water concept? If you bring everything to one location and you need water, let's say at Corona de Tucson, well, now you're going to have to pump water back to Corona de Tucson. And so we did this big holistic evaluation of consolidate or not consolidating facilities into a regional or not, or more sub-regional. And it was pretty interesting, the outcome of the study, which will be finalized in a report, and this committee will be available. It'll be made available to the committee, but it basically showed the life cycle cost in any of the cases were so close, within the room for air, that it kind of leaves it open. And so after lots of discussion, we're still planning to move forward with the consolidated model where we would build the facility in Sahuarita and shut down eventually as the timing would work out. We would shut down Green Valley and Corona de Tucson. And ultimately, if Sahuarita is a partner, they would ultimately shut down their facility too. And thus you'd have the regional system over there.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What happens with the reuse that's happening out of the Green Valley?
Well, right now, the Green Valley has a contract with Robeson where we provide them 1 million gallons a day, which is approximately 1,000 acre feet, or roughly half of what's out there, close to that. And we recharge most of the rest of it, but our recharge is a little bit more limited. So we give Robeson a little extra, a little more than we have to give them, but they pay for it, a market price. And the rest of it, we recharge on site for our own Pima County credits, water credits. But once we move that facility, that could change a lot of dynamics, and we'll still be in conversation with Robeson because of the contract to see if they want to build a pipeline to still get some water or not, or whether they want to walk away from it. But that's still part of this. The big evaluation is, where will we recharge? How will we recharge? And, it's still a possibility, going back into the river, to the Santa Cruz River, like over here, after all this time, we now get that 95% credit for the managed recharge in the river. Down there at Green Valley, it still would be a 50% credit. That's why we recharge on site in some recharge basins. But if we can manage to get that 95% credit, it might make sense to go back into the river. So there's a lot more options and discussions to go, but stay tuned, After I just want to keep you up on that and let you know that continues to move forward. Staffing, it always has been an issue for the longest time. It has improved. We were over 40 vacancies for a while, and I think we're at 28 vacancies right now, which is a lot better. But that one also will roll into the comp study. The county, I've been sharing with you the compensation study that the county has performed, and the board just approved it on Monday of this week to move forward with the phase 2 rollout, phase 1 and phase 2 rollout of the compensation study, which basically on September 10th, all county employees will change from the old system to this new pay system. And I told you previously, the old pay system had over 100 different pay grades, alpha and alphanumeric pay grades. And now it's going to have 26 pay grades, all numeric pay grades, period, for almost 7,000 employees. And then everybody will be placed into their appropriate pay grade. That CBIZ, a contractor that the county hired, basically did a survey or questionnaire for almost every employee, and then their methodology, they placed employees into the appropriate pay grade and title of their position. Now, when you're doing that for a large organization of 7,000, it's never perfect, but a lot of effort has gone into it, and it sure seems like it's pretty good, but there will be many issues. And on September 10th, when everybody changes, The county is using a methodology besides change, some positions will change titles and some positions will keep their titles. The county uses a number of very broad generic titles and those go away to more specific titles. But if you were already a very specific title, it'll probably stay the same. But once you're in a new pay grade 1 through 26, the county is using a formula to transition people that is 25% credit for years with the county service and 75% credit for years in the classification you're in. And when they take those 25% times your years of county time and 75% time your years in the classification, you get a number of years of credit. And they broke down the range. So let's say you were a grade 10, the range for a grade 10, goes from X to Y. And they broke it down into 4 quartiles, 25%, 50%, 75, and the maximum. And if you were at 5 years, you'll be moved to the end of the first quartile. If you're at 10 years of credit, you'll be moved to the midpoint, and so on and so forth. And of course, if you're at 7 years, you'll be somewhere between 5 and 10. So it's mathematically, it places you somewhere along the pay grade line of your competitive salary or wage. And that's going to happen to everybody. In some cases, if somebody already was above that amount where that formula takes you, they will get a 3% increase on September 10th. But other people, could get quite a bit. The county has put a maximum of a $15,000 annual salary increase with this effort, but some people will get $15,000 jump in pay, which kind of gives an idea that they were pretty underpaid in the market anyway, based on the study. Also, the county will not move anybody above the end of the 3rd quartile. So 75% in the range is as high as they'll move anybody, whatever dollar amount that is, as long as it's less than 15, that's as far as somebody will go on this pass at it. But there's a whole bunch of information, and I'm probably be easier to answer questions, but the main point for my update is just to let you know that the board did approve the compensation study plan, and it has this rollout of all these activities, which is tremendous accomplishment to get to that point. And with that, on September 10th, somebody will wave a wand and all these changes are going to happen, which is incredible. But then all employees have 30 days from that date to appeal if they thought they were not placed in the correct position or grade or title of position. So that will be dealt with. Then depending on how many appeals there are, it could take a little while, but at least there's an avenue to look at it. And also the department or the appointing authority has an opportunity to appeal as well. Just speaking for wastewater, when myself and the executive committee went through the data, it looked like to us that maybe as much as 90% of our employees were placed at a reasonable location, and 10% may appeal, which isn't bad for the size of undertaking. And then there's been a lot of discussion at the board meeting about, the 25%/75% formula. And the board did adopt that, but there was a lot of discussion about it. But I'm guessing, this is just my editorial, because of the discussion, some of the things that were brought up, especially like with people that promoted recently, if somebody went from their old position to a new position, let's say 2 years ago, well, their years in the classification is only 2 years times that 75%, whereas they could have been in a lower position for 15 years, at which point they would have got a potentially higher placement. And so that we found that to be true on some of our more recently promoted people. And so hopefully between the board and county administration and human resources, as they're having those behind the scenes conversations, that will also be an appealable option. But I'm not speaking for the board, I never would, but just to know there's still a lot of moving parts, but it's an overall positive direction for adjusting county wages and salaries, which make us more competitive in the market, which will help us with our competitiveness to attract people and retain people and and improve from the situation we've been facing for a number of years. So I'll shut up. That's a lot of stuff and I probably talked too fast, but if you have any questions on that one, let me know. But you can read a lot about it. You can go to the county webpage. There's all kind of information out there, but it's a good thing. And that's how we're telling the story.
Does anybody have any questions for Jackson on that? I have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm curious, so it sounds like there's no, but the compensation doesn't consider performance and merit. So I'm assuming most people will be moving up, and so that's not really a concern, but I'm sure there were some conversations about that.
There was a tremendous amount of conversations, as you would expect, and everybody has an opinion and an idea of how it should be done. And in this round, to go from where we have been or currently are to this September date change, it's a huge undertaking and tough decisions had to be made. And after all the discussions and whatnot, this is where they've ended up. And now going forward, things may change on how they want to look at things that may be more performance-based. And, those details are still yet to come out, but it's all focused right now on getting that transition on September 10th.
Jackson.
Hey, Jackson.
Oh, hold on, I'll get Scott over here. Go ahead, Scott.
Jackson, on the budget, we've budgeted for wages and all that. But if all these things are gonna go into place September 10 and there's a maximum of a 15K jump, is that gonna still be sustained by the budget, or is the budget gonna take a hit?
The budget was budgeted at today's values, and virtually most everyone in wastewater is gonna get a raise, so the budget will not cover, the total cost of wages. But in our case, my understanding right now is the way wastewater will fund it is from our cash reserve balance. We have cash reserves that will go to cover this initial cost. And then, of course, next year, we will put it in the budget what the new wages are. And then we'll have to look at whether the rates have to change or where we're at that point. But just this transition and the impact, which I don't know the total dollar impact at the moment, but it will be covered through our cash reserves, which we do have some in our bank account.
And with this expectation and all that, is it gonna be any surprise for the customers of wastewater that the budget will maybe have to go up and then they'll have more higher water rate or wastewater rates and stuff like that?
If the ultimate impact of the wages, which is 35% of our budget, or other inflationary changes, cause us to need to raise our rates, that's always a big challenge. Rates are never a fun topic. And we'll deal with that if that's what it points to, and we'll go from there. But, we've been now 7 years without a rate increase, which is phenomenal in any utility. So I don't think, we can't go forever without a rate increase, and it's somewhere in the near future, probably have to pay the piper, but this may be the last straw that pushes us over to have to ask for rate increase. But that's a whole future conversation, when we get to that point.
There's somebody online that also had a question.
Armando?
Yes, I do. Out of curiosity, what percentage of our people were underpaid?
99%? No. I don't know if there's a specific answer, but the fact that most everybody is getting an increase probably means that we were below the market. And I believe most people felt we were below the market with our turnover rates and our vacancy rates. So this is definitely a good step in the right direction to help get us more competitive. And I told you last time, of the 26th grade, the pay grades, the midpoint of each grade is intended to be the 50% market competitiveness. So if you're at the midpoint of your pay grade, you could expect in a perfect world that you could go find 50% of similar jobs pay less than you and 50% of the jobs pay more than you. And that's where the county wanted to end up. And so maybe we weren't at that place because, there's a fair amount of money that's going to be distributed here very quickly. And I think it's a good thing.
Excellent. What about the executive level?
Depends on what you mean at executive level.
Yours and above.
They're bringing an armored car in for me, I heard. No, everybody fits that same model, the 2575. So you have, so for instance, my level as a director, I'm a grade 21 of the 26 levels. And based on my almost 20 years with the county and approximately 13 years as the director, you do the math, and that puts me, in somewhere near the third quartile of the range for directors. There's directors that have been with the county a long time, but they've maybe only been a director a couple years. And when you do the math, they'll maybe still be in the first quartile. So everybody's different depending on, at this transition point, what they're valuing primarily is your time with the county and your time in position.
Excellent. So if we go to lunch, you're buying.
I'll give you a ride in the armored truck. All right, just real quick, two more things. I'll just real briefly. One is just because I talked about Mount Lemon and the Forest Service that was telling us, our permits expired and they're wondering whether they want wastewater discharged on the mountain. Well, it's not wastewater, it's water, wonderful commodity that helps keep the forest alive up there. And we think that'll be worked out, and they'll give it a different connotation. Instead of waste, they'll call it, some riparian habitat benefit or wildlife benefit or something else. But until that time, we're still looking at other options. And we did meet with the Mount Lemon DeWitt, the water company, Mount Lemon up on top. And they are interested in direct potable reuse possibilities. They think they have the right customer base of approximately 300 customers up there that would be interested and willing in taking an advanced treated wastewater into their system. So just let you know, we had those conversations, and you're not going to read about it in the paper that Mount Lemon to drink, direct potable reuse, but definitely there's some positive discussions that's one of our options. If for some reason the Forest Service says no more, don't water my trees anymore. So that's the update there. And then I was just going to remind you, it's on your agenda, but I'll just run through real quick the capital projects for this year that are going right now, that are all big projects over $5 million or more dollars. We did get approval for the Anita Mox to move forward with that project at Tres Rios. That's a $6 million, a little over $6 million. We anticipate a little over a $6 million project. We're moving forward with the solar drying for our biosolids to make a Class A biosolid and to cut down on the amount of haulage. Instead of hauling a 20% cake solid, we'll be hauling an 85+% solid and a lot fewer trucks. And we have budgeted a little over 13 million this year, but that could be upwards of a $40 million project, but it has a positive payback, and it's a good thing to prepare for the long-term disposal of our biosolids, because a Class A product has more potential outlets of places to go with it. Continental Ranch Regional Pump Station, we're putting in additional force mains because of capacity, and that's a $9 million project. That one's well on its way. The $9 million is what's in the budget this year. It was in, we were working on that one since last year. The Canoa Ranch sewer extension is another project over $5 million, and that's extending our sewer line south to the Canoa Ranch area for both development and for the county's Canoa Ranch Park and RV place down there. And ultimately, we want to extend it all the way to Arivaca Junction so we could get rid of our last official lagoon and just be treatment facilities for the most part. And then the conveyance pipeline rehabilitation bucket. Jaime's in here today, Jaime Rivera, and he's always having to fix and replace and rehabilitate lines. So he's got $8 million for that this year. And the same at the treatment, the various facilities and infrastructure that they manage, another $8 million there for rehab as well. So those are all the big projects I just was reminding you all, and I'll shut up. I talked too long today.
All really interesting. Does anybody have any questions for Jackson on any of those projects? Okay, we'll move on to item H, which is the election. We already covered that to some degree, but I would like to take just a moment to thank Scott for his leadership over the last several years, or one.
2 years, 2 years, right,
And I
Scott?
really look forward.
Written up as 3 years or something.
Yeah.
I thought it was 2 years.
It just seemed like 3.
I look forward to sharing the roles again this year, with Scott
Got your
working as vice chair, so appreciate that. And it's been a good couple years apparently.
Yeah.
So thank you for your confidence in me, and I'll try and do a good job. Anything else on it?
Nope, thank you.
Item I is draft annual report to the Board of Supervisors, and this was distributed to everybody. I believe we just want to take any comments, or is there anything that you want in particular from the group on this?
If anybody has any comments or corrections, eagle eyes, we struggle to get them all done and find any errors or typos. But if anybody sees anything or has any comments, we're very open to hearing that. Marla?
And I know we got it out, the committee members, rather late yesterday, so I don't think today we're going to ask for any kind of a vote, but just be aware that to review it and let us know next meeting.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm just gonna repeat for Marla, because we are just going through the computer microphone, but we didn't get that report out to all of you till late yesterday. So we're not gonna call for a vote of support or endorsement at this meeting. We'll wait till the next meeting, so you have more time to look at it. And between now and then, if you do have any comments, please get them back to Jeanette, and we can bring that up for the next meeting. Armando, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, could I get a tutor to walk me through this thing?
Walk me through it.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Complicated.
Looks kind of complicated, doesn't it?
It's just page by, I don't know.
So take a look at it, but Armando, if you want, just
Yeah, give me a call.
give Jeanette a call, and we'll set up to where we can walk you through it or help you any way you need to. But obviously, that would be worth one of your comments, is to state it looks too complicated or too something or other. And I think they used Scott's yearbook picture from high school when they put his picture in
That's
there.
a good picture.
Yeah.
That was on a cruise when I stopped dyeing my hair.
I did find a typo on page 7. Catlow Shippick is CATLO, but I'll look through it for other things. So just to clarify, this goes to the Board of Supervisors, and then do you do a presentation at the board meeting?
We haven't previously, we just share it with them so they know
Yeah,
a summary of this past year's activities.
good.
So that's really the intent. And if they ask for a presentation, of course, I'd love to do that, but I haven't been asked before. My
Okay.
reputation precedes me, I think.
All right.
So.
Any other
Yeah,
comments?
well, Eric has a question, and I'm gonna say, let's, since he's a future member, Eric, go ahead.
It would be possible to have that sent to me so I could take a look at it and kind of build myself up to speed.
You bet. Do you have his email?
No, I don't have any email contact information.
Eric,
I will send that to you. I think I can get your email address off of the webpage.
yeah, yes, you can. And if you just get it to me or anybody in wastewater you find, just tell them to get it to Jackson Jenkins, and we'll make sure we get you a copy of this stuff.
You got it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Great. All right, so that's the annual report. So please get any comments that you have to Marla or to anybody else to Jeanette. And we'll talk about it next time. Next, the financial subcommittee. We have Matt. Matt is here. Would you like to give us an update?
Really, no update this month. We haven't had a subcommittee meeting since our last general meeting, and we don't have one scheduled yet for the fall, but that will be our next step, is to schedule something to look at the draft budget for next year once we put that, start putting that together. So that's all for now.
Okay, where are we? Oh, item K is the CIP subcommittee report. and that's Asia.
Asia's not on.
Not
Is
on.
Asia on?
No, and I don't think they've met either.
I don't
Yeah,
think
they
they have
haven't.
that either. Okay, so we will pass on that item unless anybody knows differently.
In July.
Otherwise,
Was there one? Okay,
Yeah, because Ken, you gave a presentation, right? Well, yes. What about that presentation that you want to recap?
Did you give an update of something, or did you give a CIP presentation? I'm trying to think what you did.
at the subcommittee, there was a
At the
subcommittee.
subcommittee, we went over the planning.
Over the planning activities?
And very little CIP, but mostly our planning areas.
Okay, but good catch, Craig. So there was a meeting in July for the subcommittee, and Kent McRae heads up our engineering section, had given a discussion or a presentation on our planning efforts. So, and were they wowed?
I think they were wowed because Morella made a very good, gave me good material. We expressed where we're going, where we have a development interest in expanding and extending the conveyance. So.
Okay,
Okay,
Craig, anything else?
No, that was a good presentation, so I just want to make sure we got that on there.
Yep, thanks.
July 27th is when
Yeah.
we're meeting else.
Thanks for letting us know that.
okay, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the fiscal year 2022-23 period 12 and 2023-24 period 1 expense and revenue summary. Isaiah?
Isai.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the time. I'll share my screen here shortly. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'll be focusing on for now for fiscal year 23-24 period 1. Our period 15 for last fiscal year is not yet closed. So once that's closed, I'll get you more updated information. So for fiscal year 23-24 period 1, we normally forecast to budget, adopt a budget that is 96.74 million. For adopted is our projection as well. Our total O&M is 176 million. And we can see the projection as well, 176. For total revenue, our adopted budget is 194.6 million. And you can see as well, projection 94.6. We'll be doing some forecasting for next period. So we'll be able to give you some more updated data, how we see things panning out for the remainder of the year. Questions?
Looks good, Isai. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, we'll move on to item M, which is the System Water Advisory Committee, CWAC report. And Allison Jones.
Thank you, Claire. CWAC last met on June 7th. We've been on hiatus since then. We will be meeting in September. The director reported that mayor and council had approved an IGA with the Arizona Department of Economic Security for low-income assistance for water bills. Mayor and council had proposed a revision to commercial rates. There will be a notice of intent issued regarding a potential rate change. I'm thinking that probably has happened, but I'm not certain of that. We received a PFAS quarterly update. EPA came out with proposed MCLs at the end of May. Let's see, the city is applying for an update of their designation of assured water supply. That was on the consent agenda, not expected to really cause much conversation there. And right before our meeting, the mayor and council had approved a new turf ordinance for the city of Tucson. It applies to commercial properties and HOAs and really prohibits turf that is solely ornamental. We received a Colorado River update, which is where most of us really find the most interesting information from these meetings. Last winter, the snowpack in the Colorado River Basin was pretty huge, in the upper basin, and runoff was great. Lake Powell river levels were rising a foot a day up at the time of our June 7th meeting, and had been doing so for 40 days straight at that point. It's projected that the river would probably get to an elevation of 1,070 feet, which is within the old Tier 1 level for the drought contingency plan. The city of Tucson did participate in conservation of Colorado River water. We left about 28,000 acre feet of water, I think, in Lake Mead. And we will be paid, the city will be paid for this water. And the city's looking for potential projects to use this money. I think they're leaning right now toward a new recharge basin at Sharp. Let's see. There is the Bureau of Reclamation Conservation Program stipulates that in year 1, Tucson will leave 50,000 acre feet in Powell, and in years 2 and 3, 30,000 acre feet. We'll get about $20 million for that. Some of that may also be used for PFAS remediation and containment, because PFAS has been discovered within the Tucson Basin groundwater. Then we got a presentation on the water checkbook. This is an annual presentation that we get showing how much water we use, how it's used, and how much water we have. Are we in a deficit or do we have a surplus? The current demand in the city of Tucson service area is 110,000 acre feet per year. That's the same as it was in 1990, when the population was much lower. Of that 110,000 acre feet, about 74% of it is Colorado River water, 13% is recycled water, and about 4% is remediated water, TARP in particular. Also, at the end of 2022, Tucson Water had a long-term storage credit of over 6 years of demand. Basically, that means that if we got no Colorado River water and we didn't even pump groundwater, we have stored up 6 years of water demand in the aquifer. We were presented the water service area policy review. We get a presentation on that every year also, and that's basically how Tucson Water decides where their service area is and who they are going to serve. And they have some specific rules about this. But the key takeaway there was that Mayor and Council has opted not to review any PATA applications, which is to serve potential annexed areas during this Colorado River shortage. They didn't say this, but I'll say it. I think we're anticipating the Colorado River is going to be in shortage forever. The experts are saying Lakes Mead and Powell will never be full again. And so that may have pretty serious implications for the Tucson water service area. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks. I just want to say, I always enjoy your reports, Allison. I feel like I learn a ton, and I don't get to go to those meetings, so I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Claire.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to item N, which is future agenda items. I had one. I think it would be really nice to have a round robin of introductions by people on the committee. I feel like there's a lot of new members. I don't really know those members, and it would be great to do that sort of annually.
Got it. That's a great idea.
I also thought maybe maybe we could have some discussions about what we're doing in this committee and how we can move forward with being impactful and what our role is. I just feel like some of those discussions would
It's a
be,
great refresher every year, besides introductions.
Yeah.
to Reiterate what the
right,
original focus of the committee
Right.
or responsibility of the committee is, and we'll go from there.
great. Okay, those are
Super.
a couple of thoughts I had. Does anybody have future agenda items they'd like to hear about?
Yes, I'd like to have a discussion about quote flushable wipes and if there's any kind of movement with wastewater departments throughout the country to actually sue the companies that make so-called flushable wipes, which really aren't that flushable as we know. And if there isn't a class action lawsuit or individual lawsuits, why not?
I think that's a great topic. We'll put that on the agenda.
Any other thoughts? I gave a water talk yesterday, and one of the people in the audience asked me if there was any data about increased water use because people are washing their hands longer for COVID. I thought that was really interesting, and I just thought I'd kind of throw that out there. So I don't know if anybody's heard about any of that, but I hadn't really thought about that, because there's always instructions, wash your hands for 20 seconds. and-
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
so, I don't know if you've heard.
We haven't seen a peak of higher wastewater flows,
Okay, well, that's good to know.
but I'm sure it's had some impact,
Yeah,
nothing national.
yeah. All right, any other thoughts or ideas? So there is the work program that is put out all the time and says what we do at every session. So that's a great way to look and see what we have planned throughout the year. And if there are some things that come up for you where you want to hear more about a certain topic, there's room to put those on. So, I mean, it's 9 o'clock now, we actually could go longer, so.
Yeah, and we, the focus of the committee is primarily financial
Right,
activities, but we always try to impress you with all the cool things we do, so it'd be great. And there's things that we could bring up that are national events or national topics related to water and wastewater, so great venue to do it in. So we'll put it together and have more discussion on that too.
all right. Any other thoughts? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and do our last call to the audience. Item O, is there anybody else that wants to say anything? No, then I'll,
And I'll just say, Eric, we're not ignoring you because you're not an official member yet. We'll wait for the big introduction and learn all about you at next month's meeting.
Armand just got his hand raised.
oh, Armando does.
I hope I don't make you sorry.
Armando, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, I want to congratulate you and Scott on your positions. I know it was a tight race, and I also know that you guys have waited anxiously to take these positions. You've never had them before, and I know you'll do a great job. And I sincerely thank you for really taking on the project, actually. And Scotty, you did a great job. I think that the meetings you ran were excellent. I'm just happy that
Claire just broke the record for getting out of here the earliest today.
well, yeah, but that was due because the big guy didn't talk a whole lot. And I don't know how you guys did that. However, do it again.
I'm gonna blame Jackson.
Anyway, you all be careful out there because there's some strange people out. I'd hate to see anybody get hurt.
Thank you, Armando. We'll move on to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
I'll second.
Did you get those? Okay, you're quick there. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
Look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.